People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. We might as well speak about, anything concerning Arsenal, really. It's a slow news day or slow news week, or, you just type in Arsenal, all you see is Partey. If you don't see Partey, you see Aouar. No progress on that front. There's no point speaking about what we already know. Apparently we've got an interest. Tell a lie, we'll briefly speak about them. But before that, as you lot know, sadly, David Moyes and two other players at West Ham contracted coronavirus. People, the club were informed of positive tests while preparing for the yesterday's game against Fulham. People, a man said Fulham against Hull. Those players was obviously, manager David Moyes, Issa Diop, and Josh Collins, 24-year-old. The players and the manager obviously self-isolating, and it's sad to see. Why that has relevance is, first and foremost, it's a man's health. It's, they've got a family, they're human beings. Second of all, when I saw that news, the first team I thought of, sadly, was Arsenal. It's like, we just played against these lads. Is this deja vu? Are we here again, sort of thing? Now, apparently Arsenal have conducted tests and they've come back negative. Now, one has to wonder how we react to this, because I don't want to see football put to a stop, and I'm not advocating that at all. But when you see this, when you hear all the other corona things like Gooner, when you hear several members of the Leyton Orient team, they didn't play against Spurs yesterday because of such, one has to wonder, something has to give. Fans have been postponed from returning to the grounds, and I know a couple of clubs did pilot schemes, and my very own team, Arsenal, we was in it for the Sheffield United game. We was hoping to have fans of some capacity there. So it's disappointing, but, I'm wishing anyone that gets that virus speedy recovery. Now, moving on to the boring part, and let's just speak about Aouar quickly. David Ornstein's had a Q&A, and it's on YouTube and whatnot, people. He's offered a lot of thoughts, and he said, Lyon are notoriously hard to deal with, tough negotiators, especially their president or Las. So that could complicate things around Aouar, whose transfer fee is reportedly higher than Partey's buyout clause, which we already know. We'd have to pay a bit more if we want Aouar. You have to pay a bit dear for Aouar because he's highly sought after and he's seen as potential. You have to pay more upfront costs because Atletico have said they want Partey, and I know we've got financial issues and all of these things and COVID and whatnot, but it comes down to it. Do you want to get that player over the line? You either pay a bit more or you agree to their terms. You can't always haggle and haggle. At some point, something has to give. And if you want those players, if you want Arteta to have the best tools available to allow him to have a better season than we had last year, then you've got to get them over the line. Because obviously, no disrespect to Aouar and Partey, they dramatically improve Arsenal. They'll be quality players and whatnot, but they're not world-class players, yet anyways. They're not world-class players. They're top players, but they're not world-class players. But they might as well be world-class players because they dramatically improve Arsenal's team, and it sends out a statement of such. Do you get? Of course, it's not as big of a statement as spending 90 on Havertz or bringing in someone with the experience of Thiago, but it sends out a statement that Arsenal are a bit serious. We're bringing in players that, I'm not too sure on the interest of Partey, because it just seems like Arsenal are going for him. Football's weird, someone else might get him. But our if it's not Arsenal, it's, in fact, even here in the team that's not in the Champions League wants him now. It's City, it's Juventus, it's United, it's ours, it's Madrid, it's all of these teams going after Aouar, and we'll have to see what happens. I want Aouar, but more importantly, I hope there's backup targets, because it's the quicker it goes on. There's 2 weeks left. We've clearly been haggling all summer, and it's going to come to a point, put up or shut up, or look for other targets, like he did when we couldn't get up on Meccano with bringing in Gabriel. When it became apparent that Palace wanted a bit too much fees up front, go for Pepe. I don't mind this. We need to have several other targets. All I want to see is both of them areas in midfield addressed. One minimum, I say one minimum, it's more two minimum. They have to. We've known for years this is the areas that need to be addressed. We've known what we've needed to do in the market, so it's no surprise. Apparently, Ornstein has said, on the flip side of all that, Edu, Arsenal's technical director, has a very good relationship with Lyon counterpart Jorginho from Brazil. Aouar is also represented by the same agency as Mikel Arteta. It's going to be a fascinating couple of weeks. Now, obviously, if they've got the same agency, and obviously if Edu's got a decent relationship with Juninho, that makes I wouldn't say it makes our negotiation position any better. I'd say it makes it easier to have dialogue, maybe bend the rules a bit and structure payments to our terms. But at the end of the day, friends and business have no place together. Yeah, they might be cool and it might, make things a bit easier, but sooner or later Edu's gonna have a mandate from the people above him at Arsenal, Lyon the same, and the wires are gonna get crossed, and it's gonna come down to the money. what does the balance sheet say? Do you want to pay this? Of course, they might let us be a bit more flexible, entertain, maybe loan at a bit more, creativity, maybe a loan with an option to buy, maybe the way we stagger payments. I don't know. But I don't think it means much beyond being able to negotiate better if we do agree a fee or whatever. Ornstein went on to claim the obvious as well. Aouar and Partey are Arsenal's 2 top central midfield targets for this window. They are trying. Whether or not they get one or both, I don't know. They have backup options if they don't. And that's what I want to hear, backup options, because we've got 2 weeks left. How long are we going to persist with this without going in other directions, people? We'll have to see. Really and truly. He went on to say, some I speak to think it's more likely that they'll end up with one of them, and to that extent, possibly more likely Partey because of the position he plays and Arsenal's need to strengthen in that area. And he also has a release clause that makes it clear cut. And of course, it's a release clause. You pay the release clause, he becomes your player. I do think we need some athleticism and tenacity, and I do think that is important and it's highlighted. But I literally think of equal importance someone with our skill set, the ability to break the line, the ability to want the ball. I think after that, our midfield would just be lacking runners. Joe Willock's the only one I describe as a midfield runner, in that he's going to do the Ramsey thing, run in behind. We have not got that. Aouar and Partey, they're not perfect players. They're not world-class players. I'm not criticising them because they're world-class players in comparison to what we have. But they dramatically raised the squads. If I'm Xhaka, for me it's Xhaka and somebody, Xhaka and Partey, because I think that's what Arteta wants. But if I'm Xhaka, someone that might be a bit complacent because he plays every week, Partey and Aouar, you're going to have to fight. Ceballos has come on loan. He's going to have to fight. Joe Willock, if you want to start, you got to show something more now than ever. And the same goes for everybody. A more competitive side brings the best out in people. There's a lot of competition in the wide areas, for instance, people. And on that note, speaking of wide options, David Ornstein said, my information is that Reiss Nelson is now available to leave Arsenal in this current transfer window on a loan basis. It is likely he'll go away, get game time, and then hopefully for him and Arsenal, come back to the club a better and more experienced player. I think it's a very early stage of the process, so I'm not sure conversations are taking place just yet with interested parties, and I'm sure there will be a lot of them. Watch this space on a loan move for Reiss Nelson. And I think it would benefit Reiss Nelson greatly going out on loan. I think it would benefit him going to Germany. Can we get him to Dortmund in that squad? I might be dream chasing. Can we get him to a lesser German side? If not, for me, I would equally love him to stay in the Premier League. In fact, more so. He's under the eye. There might be a lot more scrutiny, but he's under the eye. People looked at the Hoffenheim thing and thought he was going to return as Ronaldo because they looked at him scoring and they weren't watching the whole game, where 9 times out of 10 he did play well, but there's many things he could have improved in. For me, the main thing is confidence. Reiss is lacking confidence. You need confidence to believe in yourself. I think he needs that constant arm. So if he can go away, get some consistent game time, get some confidence through playing and getting experience and feeling important, and come back a better player. Because you do see, like against Liverpool, when he started against Chelsea, there was evidently a smile on his face and he played better. Too often he looks unsure of himself, and he's a talented lad, but talent's irrelevant now. He's left the under-23 level. Talent's irrelevant. It's about realising some of that. And the cynic in me, I think he's got a future here. I want him to even stay this year, but can he put himself in the shop window for Arteta or permanently to raise funds if this isn't going to happen for him? He needs to get a loan. Can he play somewhere in the Prem? There's a Palace there. They've got some ballers. Can he play for Fulham? They've got a small squad. Can we get him to one of these promoted sides? I would like him to stay at the club, but I can't disagree with the logic of him going out on loan, because the chance of game time right now, at least in the early months until he gets an opportunity and proves it, are slim. Arteta said you've got to stay ready and wait for your chance, and so he believes in him. But you've got Aubameyang who's a left winger now for us, so that means one less opportunity there. You've got Willian who's come in, and against West Ham he was a bit so-so. Fulham he was good. Equally there's depth. Pepe is going to play football. Bukayo Saka has complicated matters. Long-term Martinelli is seen through the middle, but he's someone that plays on the left wing, and I'm probably missing somebody else out. So there's a lot of competition. I think Nelson could stay and get minutes, but he needs to go somewhere where he can maybe play or start 10, 20, 30 games. That's what he needs. Even Joe Willock needs that. For me, Joe Willock needs a loan more than Nelson, because I don't see Joe's qualities yet. But on that note, you know, the thing that helps Joe is that we've got slim options in midfield, so he's staying as a body. You know, these players need to do what they need to do to become dramatically better players. And I think for Nelson, he needs some consistent game time to build his confidence to obviously feel a bit more like a player. So I'd be interested to see where he goes on loan, but it's important to pick the right loan spell. Because do I necessarily think in hindsight and watching it, Hoffenheim and Nagelsmann was the best loan spell for him? Undoubtedly no. But hopefully there's some positivity with Reiss Nelson. Quick word on our midfielders, and it seems like Guendouzi's days are numbered. However, there's been a lot of transfer speculation that he's handed in a transfer request. Obviously, as question marks over his futures continue. As you lot know, he hasn't played since we lost 2-1 to Brighton in June. But apparently he has not handed in a transfer request. So it's important to keep things accurate. So he might very well leave, but Guendouzi has not handed in a transfer request. I'm no point talking about Torreira. It seems like he's going to Atletico Madrid, and if he doesn't want to be here, it is what it is. You know, Balogun and Sheffield are apparently still in talks regarding his future. Hopefully they get that one over the line. If he doesn't want to be here, pardon my language, F off. Like with everybody, I want him to stay, but whether it's Torreira or young players like Balogun, anyone who's got any doubts about being at this club, and if they want to do other things in their career, that's great. But F off and let's move as a club. You know, we ain't got time for this story stuff. On final word in our midfielders though, as you lot know, El Nene started the Community Shield and he also started our first league game. He might have a future here, especially with Torreira going, Guendouzi's future up in air as well. But with Ceballos returning on loan, with potentially both signings in an ideal world of Aouar and Partey, or if not them two players that are of the same skill set, with Xhaka, who is the first name on the team sheet, game time might be tough to come by for El Nene beyond the occasional cup game and competition. Apparently his future is in doubt. I don't want to say the newspaper, but you know, when the moon's up in the night, what comes up in the day? That newspaper, people, scumbag newspaper. Apparently they've reported Mohamed El Nene's Arsenal future is in doubt after his agent reportedly travelled to Turkey to deal with offers from Galatasaray and Trabzonspor. Extra Sport claimed the Egyptian midfielder could yet leave Arsenal before next month's deadline. Now, I wouldn't mind, you know. I don't think El Nene is a bad player. I think in his 91 or so appearances at this club, I just, in a nice way, I think he's a nothing player. It's not that, well, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, you know, he's not outstandingly good at anything. You know, he's 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 steady Eddie at stuff. I think his technical level is better than people give him credit for. I love his engine. I like his attitude because, you know, everyone wants to play football, but he's never, you know, dug his heels in and sulked. I think he's a decent player for the squad. Equally, you know, I don't think when you look at El Nene, he's average at a lot of things. He's not, and you need man like that in the squad. He's not great at anything. He's not necessarily a specialist in the side. Like, he's played as a defensive mid. Is he that? He's got an engine. Is he a box-to-box midfielder? Is he a deep-lying playmaker? He's played in all of these roles, but is he any of these things? Do you get it? And to be fair, at 28, if he can raise, I'd keep him in the squad if we need a body, but you know, I'm more than open to letting him go to raise funds because clearly for Arsenal every penny counts. And I don't know how much he's in love with Turkish football, but he was at Besiktas, filled with highs and lows. You know, he might have loved being in the Turkish league, and you know, it don't matter what Turkish team you support, their fan base in the UK is religious, you know, let alone, I can only imagine, in the national stadiums and whatnot. So, you know, it must be amazing to play for clubs like this where football is a religion, you know. If it's Turkey move mad with it, you know, you listen to Chuba Akpom's comments when he was in Greece, you know, that's live. And so if you can get that sort of feeling and feel important at a club, go and do that, El Nene. You're 28, you need to get games. El Nene's not going to bring in a mad fee, but we need to move him on, you know. I was baffled when El Nene was given a contract renewal with Giroud and Coquelin. This is the issues we find ourselves in. You know, I don't mind keeping El Nene in the side. Arteta has said he's open to it, but in an ideal world, I want better players. And if we get the players in I want to see come in and do the things we need to, then his game time is going to be limited. Like, I've got a lot of time for El Nene, but we need to be serious with ourselves, you know. If you genuinely see El Nene or some of our midfield combinations over a 38-game period, well 36 now, as having the ability to get top 4, I think you're wishing on a star. I want to be proven wrong, but I genuinely don't believe in our team until we sign a midfielder. I don't believe in our midfield credentials. I believe in Arteta's ability to improve us in several aspects. I believe in our ability, even if the squad doesn't change, to have more of a go of it and be more of in the fight. But getting over that line, I can't convincingly sit here on my vids and tell you guys I believe that until we bring in a midfielder. First, it was centre half. I don't think our centre half situation is perfect, but we've brought in Gabriel. Saliba's opportunities will come. I'm cool with that. Centre mid, there's question marks, but we'll have to see what happens, man. So, yeah, man. Hopefully, Reiss Nelson, you know, we can see a better player from him if he's going to stay here or go out on loan. You know, hopefully the futures are resolved in relation to Torreira, El Nene and Guendouzi. And obviously, hopefully there's some positive news in relation to Partey and Aouar. But it's just to say, it's just a different day, same recycled spin story and whatnot. And, you know, one does believe we need outgoings before ingoings. So maybe when we see the El Nenes, the Torreiras, the Guendouzis and anybody else leave this club, or more acceleration behind leaving this club, we might see some incomings. But I don't know, and that's just speculation. It is what it is on that note though, man. So, yeah, people, it's always a pleasure. DG.